Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. It's always a pleasure to have everyone listen live or listening on the replay. So we really do appreciate you for tuning in live or listening to replay. This is going to be a pop-up episode, episode 172. Why is your business structure set up that way? Wanted to do a pop-up episode and really going on a topic that we hear quite a bit about. We create, get this question a ton in consultations. So if this episode leads to a consultation and you get off slightly early, you want to know how to get in contact with the vault and trust Christian at the vault, you're gonna email Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. So the vault. When we talk about why is your business structure set up that way, this is a common question we get coming from trustees, coming through asking questions throughout the years. Many consultations coming throughout the years asking, what's the difference between the LLC, the C corp, the S corp. We ask business owners, entrepreneurs all the time. Why are they in, these S corps? Why are they in the C corps? Why are they in all these different entities? So we get those questions from the vault. People that listen, and then as well, we have questions for the entrepreneurs. And then when we ask the question to entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs, quote unquote investors say, well, the reason why I'm in the S corp, the reason why I'm in, this entity is because of the accounting. Traditionally, they went from the personal side of the 1040 form, and then they went over and started talking to some type of accountant about business structures, which are legal structures, which, we're not going to say this is legal advice, but legal aid from a lawyer would be very important when you're talking about business structures, which is the legal documents, not the accounting, which is dealing with GAAP. Um, but when we talk about the structure is obviously going to dictate the liability structure, the business structure overall. And so when we talk about why is your business structure set up that way, it's easy to ask the question, so where did you get that advice? Did you get that advice from the lawyer? Did you get it from the CPA? And most of the time, what we see coming from traditionally the public, we see a resounding, this is it, ladies and gentlemen, from the beginning of the episode. People think they work for the lawyer. People think they work for the accountant. Literally had a lawyer say, can you send over a bio? First of all, we just want to know your fees. So this is why we're doing this episode, is because this lawyer wants to ask for resumes and bios of private trustees. Ladies and gentlemen, private trustees have their balance sheets as AUM, assets under management. Point blank period. They're disclosed through SEC style documents. They're disclosed through environments of disclosure because they want their actual portfolio to be shown. And in a respect of this is how many assets are under management and this is how much is valued at. So why is your business structure set up that way? It's because of the liability purposes. A lot of people go into the LLCs for the limited liability. That's what they call it. When we say, well, isn't it limited? Excuse me. So it's one of those things of hearing and knowing why are you moving forward with things. This is why the vault is here. Is because we wanted a publication that said we can talk about these things as entrepreneurs and investors or the like. Because when you're not facilitating a conversation of business, then it's personal. And we're in an environment right now where when we ask entrepreneurs, once again, in the consultations, and they come to us in the vote, it's a resounding, hey, should we set up a LLC or a C Corp? Should we set up the S Corp? Oh, okay. Well, this is what the lawyer suggested. Okay, so are you taking one legal opinion or multiple? Don't you get multiple medical opinions? Business structures have boards. They can have multiple councils. And so we talk about it from that perspective, from the trustee perspective, from even if from the business perspective, entrepreneur perspective, investor perspective, it's still from a perspective of business. And so it may seem very cut and dry, Why is the business structure set up that way? But let's just look at it, ladies and gentlemen. If there is not a understanding of these entities prior to going to the professionals that sit on your team, then there's a mismanagement block, specifically as the founder, as everybody wants to call themselves, the founder, the CEO, the initial quote unquote owner, representative of the company, officer of the company. This is what we see. What is the structure of the entity? So when we sit in a room and we talk to these founders, okay, what structure are they in? Are they in private trust? Because when we talk about these blockchain companies have entities that are structured in the Cayman Islands. That's not foreign to the whole environment. They're all set up in Bermuda. They're all set up in Luxembourg. They're set up in what will be considered the havens. So when we hear that they're set up in the havens, and people don't want to call them the havens. They'll say, oh, these are environments that they just aren't extra favorable, and they haven't been extra favorable for a while. And when you see business being done in those countries still to this day, business structure still is important on where you are. And so we see the foreign companies are in the right position. The right education provides the right structural knowledge. Um, which is interesting because you can literally call a lawyer or accountant and ask them, like, what is the difference between these entities legally in the state? You can ask them for operating agreements. So we wanted to give the skinny today because this is one of those moments where, hey, this is the game out here, ladies and gentlemen. You can always go quote your own prices. We're talking market prices, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody's services range. You got people that we say everybody's not created equal. You know what I mean? And when it comes to the lawyers and the accounts, they're not all created equal. Everyone says you got to have multiple opinions. Everyone's not created equal. There's some better than others. So we're aware of this as entrepreneurs. We're aware of this. So the business structures, we can ask the accountants, and oh yeah, we were going to look for the actual the questionnaire earlier today of where we are today in today's day and age, where people feel that this is where we are. uh, Here we go. We just wanted to share this with you all because it's very, very important to know, the pricing. So to we have attorneys we sit around. They're charging a flat fee for $1,250 for a corporation in Florida. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to that website, the state of the Secretary of State, and get your questions answered. And outside of that is just $2,000 for 5 hours for someone to do simple things for you. The fees might get outrageous. Most entrepreneurs in the beginning don't have capital to outlay before they actually open up the business. Most entrepreneurs, when we even sit in the room with these so-called tech founders, we seen a tech founder say, I've only put $500 of my money in. Hey, you put in what you put in. Nevertheless, why is the business structure set up the way it is? What's the difference between your LLC and the next guy that actually raised $250,000 with his LLC? What's the difference? What's the difference between the next one that's raised over $250,000 with their corporation? Because they have proper counsel. They have counsel that says, hey, you're going to be issuing shares. You're looking to go public. Since you're going to go public, you got to have shares. You got to have preferred shares. You got to have common shares. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about the convertible notes. This is what they're talking about in the tech environment now. The founders, they want to talk about the convertible notes, but what happened to the structure that you're converting the note in? Oh, wow, it just depends on your situation, how many founders you have come to the table. Well, we don't really like to see one founder by themselves. So that's basically a single member LLC. But we want to see them come to the table as some type of C corp, some type of shared entity where we can buy equity into the company. That's what you're seeing with all these VCs. They want to buy it. They not only want to buy into the company, they want to buy into the actual board and directors and sitting at the table as well. That's what the C corp gives leverage in, and as well the LLC, because we can see that the LLCs, they, well, I mean, let's talk about it. These things give partnership. All these things. We see even people use terms of LP, limited partnership, or general partnership. We see these things specifically in the private realm for sure. Private realm was definitely still very much so in positions of limited partnership, positions of general partnership. People just putting in equity, people taking more of a managerial role. You can see that. Then what are the structures based off the contract? So where did that education supposed to come from? That education is supposed to come from just research, being the best entrepreneurs we can be, finding and getting the best legal advice that we possibly can get, business structures, asking going to the authorities' websites. When you talk to some of the best entrepreneurs, they say, "Oh man, I know the tax code better than anybody." Well, sometimes there is a shortcut by finding good people, and then the hard way is just not knowing. Possibly, they say ignorance of not knowing it though is not at all prohibited. So we live in an environment when they say, "Oh, information is king," but information is definitely king when we see so many entrepreneurs that are not prepared, because business structures dictate what type of industry it's in and what credit is available to. We know this from being in these structures, ladies and gentlemen. And so for that reason, we have to know how to put ourselves in the best position as entrepreneurs. At the vault, it's own nothing, control everything. Business puts us in that position. Uh, we hear definitely a different level of legal advice across the board, constantly in front of lawyers. I think it's so important. You get the barrage of lawyers as you get out. You're able to meet different lawyers in different fields. You get the family law lawyers, that can really help you out if you're in family situations, as far as just being, is aware of this, the true savages, we should say, in the hills. But seeing some of the business litigators, we've actually have the relationships with the business litigators, and some of them are defending businesses, which is good. And we get the gambit of just being able to see the litigators, being able to be around them. The litigators might not sound fun, but it's interesting when you see panels, even in the founders environment where we were recently, and seeing how lack of questioning there was from a legal perspective. When you see that there are shares being issued, there are accounting measures that are being issued. There's finance that was being issued into business structures, and business structures dictate how much capital can be poured in and how it's going to be poured in to the structures. And it's just really interesting to see that sometimes when people are not aware of their particular structure, they miss out on capital that could be possibly out there available to them. And so we've done episodes about the LLCs, the S corps, the C corps, and trust. That's in the catalog. You all can go back through the catalog on the vault and listen to that episode. But we definitely wanted to, at least come together and share with you all and have a conversation and say, why is your business structure set up that way? And if the knowledge truly does come from the lawyer or the accountant, we say, really just have a solid team around you, because from the way things look, from and the reason why we talk the way we do at the wall is because we do have the range of entrepreneurs that are 100K, six figures plus and up, and so we can talk to the range because of the availability of the fact that they're in the same structures as someone that, we see it as that we sit around that has, $5 million, $12 million from VC funding, and they're still in a corporation. They're still in a corporation. They just actually could afford the legal fees to actually afford not just the private placement memorandums, but when you start seeing them say, hey, we were able to even get our documents together so we could actually go to a VC and pitch this. And so when you see a lot of these founding entrepreneurs say, hey, I've had this idea for, I've been working on this idea for a year or more, you see that they actually had to put some time, they put equity and finance into it, and they definitely made sure that when they pitched it, they were able to benefit from the fact that they were in a structure that really benefits not only themselves, it protects them, it protects the intellectual property that they're developing, and things of that nature. They're definitely in the business. When you see these founders of tech companies, they say that they're in a position to protect intellectual property that they have. So if you're protecting intellectual property, then having the right structure is important, because you can get sued out of assets. So clearly they're not letting the founders hold assets in their names. When we talk about VCs, they come in with a legal team. Not all the time, but sometimes VCs come in with legal teams. And so it's interesting because even as we speak of the founders, we even talk about, oh, the VCs, like these guys are on VC money. I mean, there's so much capital out there, ladies and gentlemen, whether we want to talk about from the banking side, whether we want to talk about, from all type of investor side. There's a lot of capital out here for disbursement right now. And it's just important to actually be in a business position, be in a business structure. Maybe there's more aggression necessary in the business development and business structure aspect than so much of, hey, consumer, buy, buy, buy. We have mentors that, life is a business. It always has been, and family is business. And so it's very just interesting to see, how the elite families are moving, making sure they're in the right family business structure, and then you have other families that don't even have a business structure, and when their family passes away, whether they have millions of dollars or not, it goes to probate. How many family members have been passed along asset in an improper business structure? Why? Because the family estate, which is a business, wasn't set up the right way. So why is your business structure set up that way? Is it set up for estate planning purposes? When we even come into businesses now, we're talking about exit strategy. We're talking about succession planning, because we're talking about the subject no one wants to talk about. You dying and your children actually inheriting something that's not going to feel like it's a burden. Like we get people contacting the vault all the time saying that their family left them a property and now they don't know what to do. Well, of course we know you don't know what to do. They didn't leave you the manual. They didn't tell you how to operate the business. It's probably not a business, it's just a burden. So why is your business structure set up that way, even on the business side where it's actually generating cash flow? Is it from proper counsel? Is it from knowing the common structures in your industry? Knowing how those we got some trustees recently called it having a Bill Gates operating agreement. Of course. Definitely. So we definitely appreciate you all for listening live or tuning in to replay. We definitely want to do this episode of why your business structure is set up that way. We had a just an encounter today, and I really wanted to talk about this with so many levels of in-depthness with the business structures that we see so many people, and you can go to the authorities websites and look at their stuff, and you see so many people that when they come into the private they say, oh wow, why don't they speak about this? Why would they? This is the public, ladies and gentlemen. We almost want to say the public is considered to be general welfare. Ladies and gentlemen, we understand it is about families, and so the estate has to be managed properly. And for one generation and the next generation to the next generation, and you see a true impact player could be done in one generation, but a true impact player, and impact players come from being able to have impact type abilities. Somebody emailed, just messaged in and said, "Where is the next seminar?" The Vault doesn't do seminars; they do trustee workshops for trustees that are enrolled in the trustee training program. So if you actually are a trustee or you want to get in contact with the Vault about the trustee training workshops, you can email the Vault Christian at trustchristian.com, and we'll get back to you about that because I know we got quite a few people that recently did that, and we're looking forward to our trustee training workshop. The trustee training workshops have always been a blast just because they feed the environment of what the cause is all about. It's all about, even this episode, the trustee training is, why is your business structure set up that way? So many people contact the vault once again and they say, all right, I'm in this entity, but I don't know how I'm supposed to be operating in it. Why? Where's your lawyer to set it up? Where's the accountant that told you about it? We sat in front of an entrepreneur. Oh, our lawyer told us to. I mean, no, no, excuse me. The accountant told us that we shouldn't own anything, and we should be in a own nothing, control everything position. But they're gonna 1040 this through me, and I'm gonna do an escort. Okay, so that's what you've been doing. Yeah. Okay. So you're doing 1040. So it's not a corporate tax form. The corporation. No. Okay. So and so we sat there with them, and we do our best to do business with people that are in the proper business structure. Uh, because when you do business with people that are in the proper business structure, it eliminates that liability, and that's why you see so many people are very hesitant to deal with people that aren't in the proper business structures, whether they're in the LLC or S corp or C corp. Why? Because people in trust deal with the people in trust. That's just the bottom line. But then, and that's where you start seeing a lot of distinction between public and private don't mix, and that is really what cuts the ice down the middle is the public and private don't mix. So, like I say, very excited about doing this episode because there's so much when we talk about why is your business structure set up that way. So where we come from, there's lack of knowledge on that. A lot of people can say, "Oh, I know the right entity to go into." Well, and if you graduate from school and you went to Goldman Sachs, of course you know when you come out, you're already investing in small corporations for wealthy people. But we're talking about the people that come out and they say, okay, I got a degree, I went to school, now I started my own business, and so yeah, I'm just gonna I don't know what to do. I'm gonna just go on the internet and Google it. So once I Googled it, and then what happens? And those are individuals, when they talk about small businesses, oh yeah, those are the gambit. They're going from anywhere from making part-time money, $12,000 a year, all the way up to $1 million to $5 million a year. And these are people that I mean, we sat in front of portfolios where the company's revenue in $1.3 million, but the entrepreneur is only taking home $112,000. Overhead is three quarters plus of the company. Expenses are high. Lack of insurance on the entrepreneur. If an entrepreneur goes, family is probably not going to hold up the business. But surprisingly, the family is actually being trained in the business. So the son is being trained in the business, in this particular business. So it's just being able to know the difference. How do you use succession plan, and where's that in your structure? So certain structures allow for easier succession. Did you we can ask an attorney that. So when we talk, we can go ask the attorneys, hey, well, what's going on here? Talk to us about that, please. Which structures are better for succession? Well, it depends on your situation. It's always a depends. Yeah, it's a depends. It's like, okay, those are babies. Babies wear depends or diapers. So it's very important to know this. It's very important to do your research. You can actually go to Secretary of State for if you're in the States. You go to Secretary of State. It's always awesome to go to their website. It's very informative. Each state has a lot of the data on how to get that going. But I mean, when you start calling around, you're gonna hear prices vary from what's on the Secretary of State's website and what's actually from coming from the council. You know, uh, well, quote unquote. Some people say, "Well, do you believe in paying for good help?" You can pay for good help
if you knew what good help was. But when someone's went to school doesn't know the difference between a good lawyer or a bad lawyer or a good accountant or a bad accountant, they have to go through some bad ones sometimes. And so yes, they're going to get some bumps on their knees as entrepreneurs in many different categories. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is the game. Why is your business structure set up that way? What happened to non-disclosure agreements? We see that at a private level, but what happened on the public side? What happened with being able to make sure that you're protected in your structures? When you say we have IP and we want it to be protected, here's a non-disclosure agreement with anyone and everyone you sit down with your idea, even your company. And that's where we are in today's day and age, ladies and gentlemen. Intellectual property and privacy are at an all-time high. Data's high, and so structure is very important. When we even talk about, like we say, the blockchain technologies, they're very much so in the correct structures. When they're talking about, you guys can see these guys trust the foundations. I mean, Jim, these guys, all of these guys, they tell you what they're in. They're very transparent. The technology is just incredible. It's light speed. It's something that maybe they have something that is very powerful from this technology that will allow them to do uh, quantum. Very, very important when they already have quantum computation. And so to have the level of encryption that they have, uh, there's supposedly a lot of ledgering and data encryption. And so you can see that deals with the structures. These people are in contracts. These people are in called internet contracts. They have yet to begin to create a law for this, ladies and gentlemen. There are going to be people that go to school for law school to actually learn how to create laws against these internet companies. Because there's not a lot of law right now. The wild, wild west out there. They're creating more and more law for it, for sure. You hear about theft on the internet nowadays. You see everybody's putting up a privacy logo or a piracy logo up in the beginning of their production. Why? Because they just want to let you know they want to protect their intellectual property over the net. They're not just going to let it go for free. Why is your business structure set up that way? Because we were mentored. We were mentored by private trustees, family, and we learned that in a private as trustees, there's a certain level of conduct. It's about stewardship. It's about pushing yourself. Uh, you know, what's interesting is, ladies and gentlemen, the dreams come true in private trusteeship, and when they come true, they're coming around so fast. It's amazing. And when we talk about private trustee training, people even inquire about the actual workshops, and they say, "Oh, when's the workshop?" And we're doing a workshop with Cornell. We can say that, because we're proud of our relationship with Cornell. uh, just has been riding with us for over a year, trustee, and just really wanted to highlight their skills. We talked to this trustee, and I mean, just so aggressive in the marketplace, but so in depth in the knowledge, but so aggressive and so many people don't see it because some people they actually make it look too easy. And so Cornell, because he studied so much, he makes it look so easy, and that's why it's so important because so many people are taking there's a different level of mindset. And so when we talk about the trading as a second option, I'll say this much. Cornell said, this is what he said his mentor said. You learn to trade, you'll never need anyone else for money ever again. And I said, wow, that is interesting. And we see that across the board, is that it builds a different mindset, and uh, we're big onto we'll be the institutional side, institutional and very focused on institutions. That's where the wealth is being held, it's being created. institutions are holding wealth, ladies and gentlemen. So uh, the right structures, everything's set up in the right structures. Uh, and that's why it's so important to talk to the council, because so many of them say, oh, well, we're not created equal, so you got to talk to us. But then how do you know the right ones? Partially doing some partial research, but always building a team. And so the vault provides that DH hitter in the game that says, hey, let's take another opinion. Let's look at this from multiple views. But we already know really what's going on here, and it's business as usual for these guys. We're talking about true business here. When you even sit in front of these so-called guys, are they giving you the big picture of your company, or are you giving them a small part of your company that they need to handle? And so that's where the boss mentality comes in. That's where the entrepreneur mentality comes in. That's where the aggressive, being a leader mentality comes in. And we're really excited about so many more people taking in that responsibility, putting themselves in that position, because it's such a beautiful position to be in. Um, because there's so much more opportunity when you're able to continue to get those relationships and actually establish growth. So really excited. Appreciate you all for tuning in live or listening to replay. Why is your business structure set up that way? We just say, hey, the vault is here for the consultations, even for the workshop. We look forward to the trustees meeting with you all and connecting with you all soon. And talk to you soon, Christian at Trust Christian.